Morning, Dan.
Morning, Chuck.
Borrowing from the classic movie, The Graduate, I just want to say one word to you, Dan. Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Just one word, PFAS. There's a great future in PFAS. If we were giving advice to a newly minted environmental lawyer, is PFAS a practice area that we would be recommending? It's certainly been in the news a lot for the past year. But today, let's explore some of the near and longer term implications, legal implications of PFAS. Your background is a perfect fit for this area. In addition to being a great lawyer, you're a chemical engineer and you supervised a large staff at a chemical manufacturing plant. And now you're giving advice to oil, gas, and chemical companies. Can you start today by explaining what PFAS is?
Sure. PFAS are per- and polyfluorinated substances. It's a large family of chemicals. There's as many as 5,000, maybe even more, individual chemical PFAS compounds. PFAS have the ability to resist both oil and water, and because of this, they have been used in a wide variety of products since the 1940s. These include clothing, shoes, textiles for carpets and furniture, fast food wrappers, firefighting foam, and pots and pans. The properties that make PFAS such a great product also result in them being very persistent in the environment. They just don't degrade. So those properties in the frying pan that keep your eggs from sticking also causes these compounds to persist in the environment.
So given all those positive attributes of PFAS, what exactly are the environmental concerns related to PFAS?
Well, Chuck, over the years we've seen analytical capabilities for detecting compounds to detect lower and lower concentrations. With PFAS, we've seen that, and we've seen very low levels, parts per trillion detected in some water systems around the country and in blood. The concern is that PFAS have been linked to health diseases. Most of the studies and research have involved two of the most common PFAS compounds, PFOA and PFOS, but very little is known about the thousands of other PFAS chemicals. The science is evolving. There's been some studies done on animals, but they can't be extrapolated directly to humans. So I want to stress the science is evolving and more research is needed.
So that's how they got the moniker Forever Chemicals. To some extent, PFAS may be representing a new wave of environmental problems, issues with products, as the ability to detect chemicals advances and you can detect them at lower and lower amounts. On Valentine's Day this past year, I gave my wife flowers, but Andy Wheeler, EPA administrator, he gave the country the PFAS action plan. And when Administrator Wheeler announced it to the press, he said that the plan was, quote, the most comprehensive cross-agency plan to address an emerging chemical of concern ever undertaken by EPA. That's quite a statement. It must have been quite a plan.
It is, Chuck. The EPA PFAS action plan describes EPA's approach to identifying and understanding PFAS contamination. The plan includes 75 specific action items identified by EPA. 23 of these have been categorized as high priority or near-term actions that will be completed this year or by the end of 2020. Some of the most notable actions include moving forward with setting maximum contaminant levels, or MCLs, as outlined in the Safe Water Drinking Act for PFOA and PFOS. adding PFAS chemicals to the Toxics Release Inventory, or TRI, under EPCRA Section 313, and developing groundwater cleanup level recommendations for those sites contaminated with PFAS.
So Dan, when a new issue comes to the forefront, lawyers typically think about a host of issues. Product management, phase out and replacement of products, waste management, cleanup requirements and the standards, liability for historical concerns from exposure, and on a forward-looking basis, the development of regulation and legislation. That list contains a lot of legal moving parts that companies need to be worried about. PFAS seems to have them all. States are moving ahead as well in managing PFAS, aren't they?
They are. Some states aren't satisfied with the urgency and the pace that EPA is moving at in establishing PFAS regulations. So they're moving ahead on their own. The last estimate, there are as many as 17 states that have set PFAS policies. This includes one, establishing MCLs for PFOA and PFOS well below EPA's current health advisory of 70 parts per trillion. For example, New York State just set MCLs for PFOA and PFOS at 10 parts per trillion. We've seen some states prohibit the use of PFAS in firefighting foam and in food packaging. We've seen some states require monitoring of water systems. Some states are requiring release reporting and even setting guidelines for purchasing.